So I think in general we look at a building as an individual, especially when we're designing. We start looking at the surrounding buildings for shading perhaps, but we don't consider their impact fully on us and how we can impact them. So in order to achieve a zero carbon world, we have to look at the impact of all the buildings together. And if we work together, we should be able to make a much better impact into our carbon emissions. It's a community-led world as opposed to a single building, and we can achieve much more together. My idea is that if one building is sick, then the rest around it are, because as a whole then you're putting stress on the grid, or you're putting stress on your environment around you through pollution or whatever. So yeah, hopefully looking at a whole to make it easier for everyone. We all need to buy into it. So policy helps, master planning helps. So to have a real plan right at the beginning, so all buildings have to do this in order to become part of a community, and the GLA policy is definitely coming towards that. There's a lot of generating electricity on site, storing electricity on site, reducing peaks, steadying the grid, reducing your emissions from the building so that you have clean air. So policy helps. Right at the beginning of your project, you need to start thinking about how my building is impacting on the environment around me, not just through energy, through transportation, through all those good sustainable things. And then post construction is really important. Operate the building correctly, make sure you're looking at it, make sure it isn't impacting the environment in a way that you weren't expecting, and if it is, change it, alter it. It's a living being in some ways, building, so we have to pay attention to it throughout. Quite a few cities are leading the way. Copenhagen is an, I would say, obvious example to those of us who are like, oh, carbon neutral cities, and that was from the oil crisis. They just said, we're not going to go through that again, let's find a way to limit our reliance on oil, fossil fuels, and over the past 40 years, they've gone very, very far down, and they're aiming for zero carbon by 2025, and they're looking to get there. That's everything, transportation, everything. Some would argue that that city isn't quite the same as other cities. It doesn't have a massive manufacturing component, things like that, but that is a really good example. There are smaller cities, there's Mannheim in Germany, which is doing quite a lot. That's a big industrial city. There's cities in the US that are under the radar that are trying to do this as well. And then there's Paris, which has a massive nuclear component to its electricity. So then they're becoming carbon zero as well. So there we have a lot of people we can look to. The London has got very ambitious plans, and they're putting them into effect. And hopefully we can learn from others as well.